else I want to see. Above all else I want to see. Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Above all else I want to see. Above all else I want to see. Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Above all else I want to see. 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 Can that be our goal? Well, I'm forgiveness teacher from the Ozarks, Miracle Willie, and ready for our Saturday, January 27th of 2024's lesson, lesson 27, Above All Else I Want to See. Today's idea expresses something stronger than mere determination. It gives vision priority among your desires. You may feel hesitant about using the idea on the grounds that you're not sure you really mean it. This does not matter. The purpose of today's exercises is to bring the time when the idea will be wholly true a little nearer. Above all else, I want to see. Well, we'll come back and look at the entirety of the lesson after we've looked at our text reading, and we're finishing right teaching and right learning, which is Roman numeral 1 of chapter 4, the illusions of the ego. We'll pick up, we read paragraph 5 yesterday. Let's read it again and we'll start right there. Every good teacher hopes to give his students so much of his own learning that they will one day no longer need him. This is the one true goal of the teacher. It is impossible to convince the ego of this because it goes against all of its own laws. But remember that laws are set up to protect the continuity of the system in which the lawmaker believes. It is natural for the ego to try to protect itself once you have made it. But it is not natural for you to want to obey its laws unless you believe them. The ego cannot make this choice because of the nature of its origin. You can, because of the nature of yours. Paragraph 6, egos can clash in any situation, but spirit cannot clash at all. If you perceive a teacher as merely a larger ego, you will be afraid, because to enlarge an ego would be to increase anxiety about separation. I will teach with you and live with you if you will think with me. But my goal will always be to absolve you finally from the need of a teacher. He wants us to find that internal guidance that's our true self, that's connected with the all, with God, with the oneness of love. I will teach you and live with you if you will think with me, but my goal will always be to absolve you finally from the need for a teacher. This is the opposite of the ego-oriented teacher's goal. He is concerned with the effect of his ego on other egos, and therefore interprets their interaction as a means of ego preservation. I would not be able to devote myself to teaching if I believed this, and you will not be a devoted teacher as long as you believe it. I am constantly being perceived as a teacher either to be exalted or rejected, but I do not accept either perception for myself. We ought to follow Jesus' thinking there, huh? Paragraph 7. Your worth is not established by teaching or learning. Your worth is established by God. As long as you dispute this, everything you do will be fearful, particularly in a situation that lends itself to the belief in superiority or inferiority. Teachers must be patient and repeat their lessons until they are learned. I am willing to do this because I have no right to set your learning limits for you. Let's not be setting anyone's learning limits. Come into an open mind of what can be accomplished. Again, nothing you do or think or wish or make is necessary to establish your worth. This point is not debatable, except in delusions. Your ego is never at stake because God did not create it. Your spirit is never at stake because He did. Any confusion on this point is delusional, and no form of devotion is possible as long as this delusion lasts. Paragraph 8, the ego tries to exploit all situations into forms of praise for itself in order to overcome its doubts. Again on that sentence, catch this. The ego tries to exploit all situations into forms of praise for itself in order to overcome its doubts. It will remain doubtful as long as you believe in its existence. You who made it cannot trust it, because in your right mind, you realize it is not real. The only sane solution is not to try to change reality, which is indeed a fearful attempt, but to accept it as it is. The only sane solution is not to try to change reality, which is indeed a fearful attempt, but to accept reality as it is. You are part of reality which stands unchanged beyond the reach of your ego, but within easy reach of spirit. When you are afraid, be still and know that God is real, and you are His beloved Son in whom He is well pleased. Of course, that's taken from what we learned the other day out of Psalms 46:10, and also what was said of Jesus when He came up out of the water after John baptized Him. This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Do not let your ego dispute this. So when you are afraid, He's telling us what we can do. Same thing He did. When you are afraid, be still and know that God is real, and you are His beloved Son, in whom He is well pleased. Do not let your ego dispute this, because the ego cannot know what is as far beyond its reach as you are. 9. God is not the author of fear, you are. You have chosen to create unlike Him and have therefore made fear for yourself. You are not at peace because you are not fulfilling your function. God gave you a very lofty function that you are not meeting. Your ego has chosen to be afraid instead of meeting it. When you awaken, you will not be able to understand this because it is literally incredible. Incredible, not credible, not believable. Do not believe the incredible now. Any attempt to increase its believableness is merely to postpone the inevitable. The word inevitable is fearful to the ego, but joyous to the spirit. God is inevitable. God is inevitable, and you cannot avoid Him any more than you can avoid you. Excuse me, I read that wrong. God is inevitable, and you cannot avoid Him any more than He can avoid you. 10. The ego is afraid of the Spirit's joy because once you have experienced it, you will withdraw all protection from the ego and become totally without investment in fear. Catch that. The ego is afraid of the Spirit's joy because once you have experienced the Spirit's joy, you will withdraw all protection from the ego and become totally without investment in fear. Your investment is great now because fear is a witness to the separation, and your ego rejoices when you witness to it. Leave it behind! Exclamation point. Leave it behind. Do not listen to it and do not preserve it. Listen only to God, who is as incapable of deception as is the Spirit He created. Release yourself and release others. Do not present a false and unworthy picture of yourself to others, and do not accept such a picture of them yourself. 11. The ego has built a shabby and unsheltering home for you because it cannot build otherwise. Do not try to make this impoverished house stand. Its weakness is your strength. Only God could make a home that is worthy of His creations, who have chosen to leave it empty by their own dispossession. Yet his home will stand forever and is ready for you when you choose to enter it. Of this you can be wholly certain. God is as incapable of creating the perishable as the ego is of making the eternal. Paragraph 12. Of your ego you can do nothing to save yourself or others, but of the Spirit you can do everything for the salvation of both. Humility is a lesson for the ego, not for the Spirit. Spirit is beyond humility because it recognizes its radiance and gladly sheds its light everywhere. The meek shall inherit the earth because their egos are humble, and this gives them truer perception. And of course, that's referring to Matthew chapter 5 and verse 5, where Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And he goes on to say, in place in A Course in Miracles, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. They will literally take it over because of their strength. And here's explaining why they're strong. The meek shall inherit the earth because their egos are humble, and this gives them truer perception. Their vision is getting more clear, which brings us back to our lesson today. Above all else, I want to see. I want to have the vision of God. The kingdom of heaven is the Spirit's right, whose beauty and dignity are far beyond doubt, beyond perception, and stand forever as the mark of the love of God for His creations, who are wholly worthy of Him and only of Him. Nothing else is sufficiently worthy to be a gift for a creation of God Himself. Let's read that again. The kingdom of heaven is the Spirit's right, whose beauty and dignity are far beyond doubt, beyond perception, and stand forever as the mark of the love of God for His creations, who are wholly worthy of Him and only of Him. Nothing else is sufficiently worthy to be a gift for a creation of God Himself. And the last paragraph, 13. I will substitute for your ego if you wish, but never for your spirit. This is Jesus talking. A father can safely leave a child with an elder brother who has shown himself responsible, but this involves no confusion about the child's origin. The brother can protect the child's body and his ego, but he does not confuse himself with the father because he does this. I can be entrusted with your body and your ego only because this enables you not to be concerned with them and lets me teach you their unimportance. Now, isn't that a good reason to let Jesus have the reins? Let God take control? Let go and let God? I am entrusted with your body and your ego only because this enables you to be concerned, to not be concerned with them. I am entrusted with your body and your ego only because this enables you not to be concerned with them and lets me teach you their unimportance. I could not understand their importance to you if I had not once been tempted to believe in them myself. He was in all points tempted as we were, talks about in Hebrews. I think that's Hebrews. Let us undertake to learn this lesson together so we can be free of them together. I need devoted teachers who share my aim of healing the mind. Jesus saying, I need devoted teachers who share my aim of healing the mind. Spirit is far beyond the need of your protection or mine. Remember this, in this world you need not have tribulation, because I have overcome the world. That is why you should be of good cheer. You can stay happy because you can turn over your ego and your body's care to Jesus or to God, to the Holy Spirit, however you want to think about it. And this is taken from that what in this world you need not have tribulation because I have overcome the world. That is why you should be of good cheer. And of course, he's referring there to what he said and recorded in John chapter 16, verse 33, where it says, But Jesus straightway spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. Well, let's let He who's overcome the world help us get through the world in a cheerful way. Matter of fact, when you're not cheerful, that's when it's time to ask for help. Okay, now before we read Above All Else I Want to See, Lesson 27, let's talk about what's going on around the world today. And it's Auschwitz Liberation Day, also Holocaust Memorial Day, an International Day of Commemoration in memory of the victims of the Holocaust. And, on this day in 1945 was the day that, Auschwitz was liberated. Okay, Chocolate Cake Day. Practice making chocolate cakes with whole wheat grains and less sweetener. Or if you're going to use something to make it really sweet, use stuff like monk fruit sweetener, stevia. What are some other ones? Xylitol people are using these days. International, Local Quilt Shop Day, and visit your local quilt shop day. International, I keep wanting to say international. Okay, we already did that one. Punch the Clock Day. Thomas Crapper Day. Thomas Crapper was a plumber in London who was born in 1836 and died on this day in 1910. And he basically began manufacturing toilets. And so a lot of and he was a successful salesman. So a lot of times you'll hear him called Crappers, likely from his last name, Thomas Crapper. They're also known as Johns because they were actually invented by a name named John Harrington. That was modern day invention. They actually found some that were some archaeological diggings found some flush toilets dating back to 22 to 2400 years ago. So, before Christ by 200 or 400 years. They're in Yuyang, China. So that's kind of interesting. We think we're inventing stuff here modern day, and they've been around for millenniums already. Vietnam Peace Day. The Paris Peace Accord was signed today in 1973 to end the Vietnamese conflict. World Breast Pumping Day. Did you know that in 10 minutes of breast pumping, one breast, you can get 75 milliliters generally? That's an average. It ranges from, there's a big range, but 75 milliliters, which is 2.5 ounces of milk. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting to know. So if you're needing to breast pump and save your milk, no, that's about what you're going to get. And then last one we've got here is National Seed Swap Day. And I just wanted to tell you, it's time to start thinking about what seeds you're going to be putting in your garden, planting in your garden. I like using Baker Creek heirloom seeds. I like using Johnny Select seed. I like using Seed Savers Exchange. And I like using Gurney's. Aside from, obviously, Edible Landscaping. And Edible Landscaping, which I might as well show you it too, the Edible Landscaping catalog, those are the ones that I like to. I used to use Burgess, but Burgess merged with, or became Gurney's, or Gurney's bought them out. Celeste Fig. Of the Celeste Fig, the Ficus carica, also known in the South as sugar fig, a Southern tradition, long-lived and hardy. Celeste reputation comes from many generations of people that have grown the fig. The eye at the bottom of the fruit is small, keeping insects out. Fruit's main crop early on last year's wood, good for pots, spaced 10-foot circles. In Zone 7, and in Zone 7, you want a 12-foot circle. Further south, excuse me, 10-foot circles in zone 7, and then the further south you want bigger circles, 12-foot circles. They're good zone 6 through 9, but I've found that a lot of people, to protect them from the winter, because they have to produce on that wood and it gets too cold, like this bamboo got down to, I think it was 10 below zero just last week. So on those cold days, this bamboo might die out. I don't know. But it'll only die out on top. The root will shoot back new. Same thing on your what am I trying to say? Your fig. But I've heard people making wire cages, just a wire wrap around the fig branches, put a trash can lid on top, and then fill it, but before you put the trash can lid, keep the water out, fill it with dry leaves. And that will help protect your new wood. Permaculture for beginners. She talks, and Carrie Mitchell, thank you. She says provide a small pond with rocks around to create a space for insect predators such as frogs and lizards. And since it's Vietnam, what was it called? Peace Day. The word for peace in Hmong is Katia 2. Katia 2. And I called my friend Thomas, that is a Hmong, and got the correct pronunciation. Okay, above all else, I want to see. Today's idea expresses something stronger than mere determination. It gives vision priority among your desires. You may feel hesitant about using the idea on the grounds that you are not sure you really mean it. This does not matter. The purpose of today's exercises is to bring the time when the idea will be wholly true a little nearer. There may be a great temptation to believe that some sort of sacrifice is being asked of you when you say you want to see above all else. If you become uneasy about the lack of reservation involved, add, vision has no cost to anyone. If fear of loss still persists, add further, it can only bless. The idea for today needs many repetitions for maximum benefit. It should be used at least every half hour and more if possible. You might try for every 15 or 20 minutes. It is recommended that you set a definite time interval for using the idea when you wake or shortly afterwards, and attempt to adhere to it throughout the day. It will not be difficult to do this, even if you are engaged in conversation or otherwise occupied at the time. You can still repeat one short sentence to yourself without disturbing anything. The real question is, how often will you remember? How much do you want today's idea to be true? Answer one of these questions and you have answered the other. You will probably miss several applications and perhaps quite a number. Do not be disturbed by this, but do try to keep on your schedule from then on. If only once during the day you feel that you were perfectly sincere while you were repeating today's idea, you can be sure that you have saved yourself many years of effort. Wow. Well, that's nice to know. We save ourselves many years of effort. And you know, I told you about Kriya Yoga the other day, and Kriya Yoga's blessing that goes with it, that Babaji said, is that every minute of Kriya practice, of bringing that breath and that energy up from your root chakra to your crown, and then as you exhale, take it back down, and do that 12 times first year, or maybe a couple times a day, but no more than about 12 times the first year. Whether it's 6 times in the morning, 6 times in the evening, or you could probably even do 12 more if it's easy for you. But that 1 year of practice of Kriya Yoga is equal to, or 1 minute of Kriya practice is equal to 1 year of natural evolution. So he's saying something similar here, that you'll save a great deal of time if you meant this even one time today. So think about if you meant it many times today. When he says, if only once during the day you feel that you were perfectly sincere while you were repeating today's idea, you can be sure that you have saved yourself many years of effort. Above all else, I want to see. So try to say that today, and maybe you can take this little song to help you remember it. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Above all else, I want to see. 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 Vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. Katia 2, Vietnamese for peace. Katia 2. Above all else, I want to see. Katia 2.